The federal transport vehicle left the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles at 6:45 on a Tuesday morning, carrying one of the most dangerous narcotics traffickers ever to face trial in U.S. court. The prisoner sat shackled in the reinforced rear compartment, his wrists bound to a chain around his waist, his ankles connected by 18 inches of hardened steel. 2 deputy marshals rode with him while a third drove, following standard protocol for high-risk transfers. The route to the federal courthouse covered 12 miles through morning traffic, a journey that typically took 30 minutes. The convoy never arrived. The prisoner was a lieutenant in the Sinaloa Cartel, responsible for coordinating shipments that moved 30 tons of cocaine annually into American cities. Federal prosecutors had spent 4 years building a case that included wiretap evidence, cooperating witnesses, and financial records, tracing drug proceeds through shell companies and international banks. The indictment charged him with continuing criminal enterprise, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, and ordering the murders of 7 people who threatened the cartel's operations. If convicted on all counts, he faced mandatory life imprisonment without parole. The trial was scheduled to begin in 6 days. Intelligence reports had warned that the cartel might attempt a rescue. Intercepted communications suggested assets were being positioned in Southern California, though specifics remained vague. The Marshals Service had implemented enhanced security measures, including route variation, decoy vehicles, and air surveillance. But cartels operate with military precision, and this one had demonstrated willingness to attack law enforcement directly. 3 Mexican police officers involved in the prisoner's initial arrest had been assassinated. A federal prosecutor in Guadalajara received death threats serious enough to require relocation. The message was clear. The cartel wanted their lieutenant back and would pay any price to retrieve him. The ambush occurred on the Interstate 10 freeway near the East Los Angeles interchange. 2 commercial trucks boxed in the Marshal vehicle, while a third rear-ended it at high speed, forcing it into a controlled stop. Gunmen emerged from the trucks armed with automatic weapons, firing at the transport vehicle's tires and windows. The armored glass held against the initial barrage, but the attackers came prepared with cutting torches and shaped charges designed to breach reinforced doors. The deputy marshals returned fire, their sidearms vastly outmatched by the attackers' firepower. 1 marshal was wounded in the shoulder. Another called for emergency backup while attempting to protect the prisoner. The breach took less than 3 minutes. Shaped charges blew the rear doors off their hinges, and gunmen dragged the prisoner from the vehicle. They cut his shackles with bolt cutters, transferred him to a waiting SUV, and disappeared into surface streets before the first police units arrived. The entire operation was captured on traffic cameras and witness cell phones, the footage showing a level of tactical coordination that suggested military or law enforcement training. Shell casings recovered from the scene matched weapons frequently used by cartel sicarios. Forensic analysis of the trucks revealed they had been stolen 3 days earlier from a commercial depot in Riverside County, U.S. Marshals immediately elevated the case to major incident status, activating a task force that included FBI agents, DEA investigators, and local law enforcement from 6 counties. The escaped prisoner's face appeared on digital billboards across Southern California within 2 hours. His photograph circulated through law enforcement databases nationwide, flagged with warnings about his cartel connections and violent history. border crossings received alerts to scrutinize all traffic. Though investigators suspected, the cartel had already moved him to a safe location, far from the ambush site. The first 24 hours proved critical. Witnesses described the getaway vehicle heading east on surface streets, likely toward prearranged safe houses in the sprawling neighborhoods of East Los Angeles or nearby suburbs. Marshals coordinated raids on known cartel properties, hitting stash houses and meeting locations where the prisoner might seek refuge. Each raid yielded arrests of lower-level operatives, but no sign of the primary target. The cartel had planned for this contingency, establishing multiple fallback positions and ensuring compartmentalized operations that prevented captured members from revealing the prisoner's location. Cell phone analysis provided the first significant breakthrough. One of the gunmen involved in the ambush made a call to a number that pinged off a tower in Pomona, 30 miles east of the rescue site. Investigators traced the number to a property registered under a false name, but linked through utility records to a cartel associate previously arrested on weapons charges. Surveillance teams positioned around the location observed vehicles matching descriptions from the ambush arriving and departing at irregular intervals. Thermal imaging detected multiple heat signatures inside the structure, suggesting it was being used as a temporary staging area. The raid on the Pomona house went down at 4 a.m. Tactical teams breached simultaneously through front and rear entrances, overwhelming the 6 occupants before they could mount effective resistance. 5 were arrested, but the escaped prisoner was not among them. However, evidence recovered from the scene proved invaluable. Encrypted phones contained communications referencing movement to Arizona, suggesting the cartel planned to transport him across the desert and into Mexico. Maps found in a bedroom showed routes through remote terrain near Yuma, areas known for drug smuggling corridors that bypassed official ports of entry. Marshals shifted resources to the Arizona border region, coordinating with Border Patrol and Arizona Department of Public Safety to establish checkpoints and aerial surveillance patterns. The cartel's standard procedure involved moving high-value individuals through wilderness areas using guides who knew terrain intimately and could navigate around sensors and patrol routes. Intelligence suggested they would attempt the crossing at night, using multiple decoy groups to draw resources away from the actual route. Every available unit was deployed to the likely corridors, creating a net designed to catch any movement matching the expected profile. Meanwhile, investigators worked to identify and arrest everyone involved in the ambush. Traffic camera footage and facial recognition software identified 4 of the gunmen. 3 were located and arrested within 72 hours, their interrogations revealing operational details about the cartel's Los Angeles cell. The 4th gunman remained at large, believed to be accompanying the escaped prisoner toward the border. This individual was a known cartel enforcer with military training, someone capable of leading a team through hostile terrain while evading law enforcement. The cartel's mistake came through overconfidence in their communication security. Encrypted messages, once broken by NSA cryptanalysts working with the task force, revealed specific details about the border crossing plan. The prisoner would be moved in a group of 8, disguised as migrant workers crossing near the Cabeza Prieta National Wildlife Refuge, an area so remote and dangerous that it was rarely patrolled. The crossing was scheduled for the coming weekend during a new moon, when darkness would provide maximum concealment. The cartel believed this window represented their best chance to move the prisoner beyond U.S. jurisdiction. Marshals established a covert observation post on high ground overlooking the suspected crossing route. Thermal scopes monitored movement patterns, while drones equipped with infrared cameras provided aerial coverage. The teams waited in 100-degree heat, knowing that any premature action would alert the cartel and potentially scatter the group before the prisoner could be identified and isolated. Patience was essential. The target had to be confirmed before tactical units could move. The crossing attempt began 90 minutes after sunset on Saturday. Thermal imaging detected a group of 9 individuals moving through the desert from a staging point near a dry creek bed. They traveled in single file, led by a guide who stopped frequently to check directions and scan for patrols. The escaped prisoner was in the middle of the column, identifiable by his height and build matching intelligence profiles. The group moved slowly, conserving energy in terrain where temperatures remained above 90 degrees, even after dark. Marshals waited until the group was 3 miles from the border before initiating the interdiction. Tactical teams moved in from multiple directions, using night vision to navigate through creosote and cholla cactus without alerting the group. When they were within 100 yards, spotlights illuminated the area and loudspeakers ordered the group to surrender. Most complied immediately, dropping to the ground with hands visible. The escaped prisoner attempted to run, sprinting toward a nearby arroyo, but was tackled by a marshal after a brief chase. The enforcer who had participated in the original ambush tried to reach for a weapon, but was subdued before he could draw it. The entire operation, from initial contact to securing all 9 individuals, took less than 4 minutes. The escaped prisoner was returned to shackles, this time with additional security measures, including GPS monitoring anklets and continuous video surveillance. He was transported under heavy guard to a different federal facility, one specifically designed for high-risk prisoners with maximum security protocols. The trial would proceed as scheduled, but now with security enhanced to levels typically reserved for terrorism cases. In the aftermath, investigators focused on dismantling the infrastructure that enabled the escape. The ambush involved at least 16 people in direct action roles and dozens more providing logistics, safe houses, and communications. Federal prosecutors filed charges against 37 individuals connected to the operation, ranging from the gunmen who breached the Marshal vehicle to the financiers who funded the entire attempt. Assets totaling $12 million were seized from accounts linked to the conspiracy, money that would be forfeited to compensate victims of the cartel's violence. The trial began 6 weeks after the recapture, conducted in a courtroom with security measures that included metal detectors, armed guards, and restricted access to all proceedings. Witnesses testified behind screens, their voices disguised to protect their identities. The escaped prisoner sat impassively through most of the testimony, occasionally conferring with his attorneys, but showing little reaction, even to the most damning evidence. The case against him was overwhelming. Wiretaps captured him ordering drug shipments and discussing enforcement actions. Financial records traced millions in drug proceeds to accounts he controlled. Cooperating witnesses described his role in cartel operations with specificity that left no room for reasonable doubt. The jury deliberated for 11 hours across 2 days before returning guilty verdicts on all 43 counts. The judge imposed 5 consecutive life sentences, plus an additional 150 years, ensuring the prisoner would never again see freedom. Additional federal charges were filed in 3 other districts, backup convictions that would survive any appeal. The prisoner was transferred immediately after sentencing to ADX Florence, the Supermax facility in Colorado, known as the most secure prison in the federal system. There, in 23-hour-a-day isolation, he would spend the rest of his life in a 7 by 12-foot cell. For the Marshals who recaptured him, the case represented both success and caution. The successful interdiction in the Arizona desert demonstrated the effectiveness of intelligence-driven operations and interagency coordination. But the ambush in Los Angeles revealed vulnerabilities in prisoner transport protocols that required immediate attention. New procedures were implemented nationwide, including enhanced route security, decoy convoys, and real-time tracking systems that would make future rescue attempts exponentially more difficult. The cartel's response to the recapture was predictable. Intercepted communications revealed discussions about retribution against law enforcement personnel involved in the operation. Threats were taken seriously, with marshals and their families receiving protective details and instructions on security awareness. Several agents were temporarily relocated, while intelligence teams worked to identify and neutralize specific threats. The cartel eventually stood down, recognizing that escalation would bring even more aggressive law enforcement action against their operations. Border security improvements implemented during the Manhunt remained in place long after the prisoner's recapture. Enhanced surveillance technology deployed for the operation proved so effective at detecting smuggling activity that it was expanded to cover additional corridors. In the 6 months following the case, border seizures increased by 37% in the Yuma sector, disrupting cartel operations and forcing them to seek alternative routes that were more easily monitored. The cooperating witnesses who testified against the prisoner received new identities through the Federal Witness Protection Program. They relocated to different regions with marshals, ensuring their safety during the transition. Some had been cartel members themselves, choosing cooperation over decades in prison. Their testimony was crucial, providing insider details about operations that external surveillance could never capture. The decision to testify required courage, knowing that cartels have long memories and extensive reach. Even from behind prison walls, analysis of the escape attempt revealed sophisticated planning that took months to develop. The cartel had conducted surveillance on Marshal transport patterns, identifying vulnerabilities in timing and route selection. They had recruited the ambush team carefully, selecting individuals with military or law enforcement backgrounds who could execute complex tactical operations. The safe houses were established well in advance, stocked with supplies and positioned along likely escape routes. The border crossing plan incorporated multiple contingencies, backup routes if the primary corridor proved too heavily monitored. What the cartel failed to anticipate was the speed and coordination of the law enforcement response. The Marshal Service mobilized resources across multiple states within hours, creating a dragnet that closed options faster than the prisoner could move. Intelligence sharing between agencies, once a weakness in federal law enforcement, proved seamless during this operation. Information flowed efficiently from street-level sources through analytical centers to tactical units in the field. This integration of intelligence and action compressed the timeline for recapture from what might have been months to less than 5 days. The case became a teaching example in law enforcement academies, studied for both its successes and its challenges. The ambush demonstrated that even heavily secured operations remained vulnerable to determined adversaries with resources and willingness to use violence. The recapture showed that systematic pressure on support networks, combined with technical surveillance and old-fashioned investigation, could overcome even well-planned escape attempts. Future transport operations incorporated lessons learned, including redundant security measures and real-time communication with command centers that could redirect resources instantly if situations developed. For the communities terrorized by the cartel's operations, the prisoner's conviction represented justice, long delayed, but finally delivered. His trafficking network had flooded neighborhoods with cocaine and methamphetamine, destroying families and fueling violence that claimed hundreds of lives. The money he made financed corruption, purchased weapons, and enabled a criminal enterprise that operated with near impunity across international borders. His imprisonment removed a key node from that network, disrupting operations and creating opportunities for law enforcement to dismantle associated cells. The Marshals who executed the desert interdiction reflected on the operation with professional satisfaction, but little triumphalism. They understood that capturing one cartel lieutenant, no matter how significant, would not end the drug trade or eliminate the violence it generated, but it sent a message that resonated through criminal networks on both sides of the border. Escape was temporary, capture was inevitable, and the consequences were severe. That message, reinforced through consistent action and unwavering commitment, formed the foundation of effective law enforcement in an era when criminal organizations operated with global reach and sophisticated resources. The escaped prisoner's recapture closed a chapter that began with his arrest in Tijuana 3 years earlier. Mexican federal police had detained him after a shootout that killed 2 cartel gunmen and wounded a police commander. Extradition to the United States took 18 months, delayed by legal challenges and cartel attempts to intimidate Mexican judges. Once in American custody, he faced a legal system that moved deliberately but inexorably toward conviction. The escape attempt was a desperate gamble that failed because law enforcement anticipated it and prepared accordingly. In the years since his conviction, the prisoner has filed numerous appeals, all denied by federal courts. His attorneys argue procedural issues while carefully avoiding the mountain of evidence that established his guilt beyond any reasonable doubt. He remains in solitary confinement at ADX Florence, his contact with the outside world limited to heavily monitored communications with attorneys. The cartel he once served has replaced him with new leadership, but that leadership operates under increased scrutiny as law enforcement applies lessons learned from this case to ongoing investigations. The story of the escape and recapture lives on in law enforcement lore, a reminder that vigilance cannot be assumed, and security requires constant evolution. The Marshals who participated in the case went on to other assignments, other fugitives, other challenges, but they carry with them the knowledge that even the most carefully planned operations can go wrong, and that success often depends on the ability to adapt quickly when circumstances change unexpectedly. The prisoner's attempted escape failed not because it was poorly planned, but because law enforcement responded with greater speed, better coordination, and more comprehensive resources. For the deputy marshal wounded during the ambush, recovery took months of physical therapy and psychological counseling. He returned to duty with commendations for his actions under fire, but the experience left permanent marks, both physical and emotional. He speaks occasionally at training sessions, describing what it felt like to be outgunned and surrounded, emphasizing the importance of backup plans and rapid response. His testimony adds urgency to abstract security discussions, grounding them in the reality of split-second decisions made while bullets impact armored glass inches away. The case file remains active in certain respects. Several individuals involved in the escape conspiracy have never been located, including 2 who provided logistical support and 1 who financed the operation. Warrants remain outstanding, flagged in databases worldwide. When opportunities arise through unrelated investigations or intelligence intercepts, arrests follow. The Marshals Service maintains institutional memory that extends across decades, ensuring that fugitives from justice eventually face accountability, regardless of how much time passes or how far they run. The escaped prisoner will die in prison. His life sentence a mathematical certainty, given his age and the length of his term. He will never again walk free, never see sunlight without looking through razor wire, never make decisions beyond what to eat from a limited commissary menu. The empire he helped build has crumbled, its leaders dead or imprisoned, its operations disrupted by sustained law enforcement pressure. The communities he victimized continue healing, slowly rebuilding trust and safety that his cartel worked systematically to destroy. The Marshals who recaptured him sleep easier, knowing he cannot hurt anyone else. They understand that tomorrow brings new fugitives, new challenges, new operations that will test their skills and commitment. But tonight, this case is closed. The prisoner is secure. Justice, however imperfect and delayed, has been served. And that outcome, repeated thousands of times across countless investigations, represents the cumulative impact of law enforcement officers who refuse to accept that criminals, no matter how powerful or well-connected, can escape consequences indefinitely.